Okay, everybody, welcome to yet another Nova Scribes. This is in our series of what we call process talks, where we invite a visual practitioner to come in and talk us through how they approach the practice. This time we're talking with Katya Balakina. Katya is based out of Chicago. A little chilly there these days. She has over a decade of experience as a graphic recorder. She collaborates with agencies like the Sketch Effect, Ink Factory, and Scriberia, as well as directly with her own clients. I invited her to talk to us mostly because of her experience working with agencies, so she can give us a little bit of a rundown in terms of how that works. So, Katya, it's great to have you here. Is there anything that I missed in your introduction that you'd like to add?
Thanks so much, Brian. No, everything sounds great, like a perfect Instagram profile description. Thank you for doing that. And thanks for having me.
Cool. So I'd like to, if it's okay, I'd like to kick off just by asking you a couple of questions.
Sure.
So I run my own little company. It's called Lizard Brain, and we hire graphic recorders and visual practitioners and so forth. And one of the things that I've always been amazed by the companies that you named that are in your background are the consistency of style that I see from their work products, right? So how does that work exactly? That's been a big question of mine. Most of the time when I hire folks, they just draw in their own style, which I love, provide some variety. But again, for the ones that you work for, how do you get the style so consistent? What does that look like?
Brian, you just asked the question. I'm going to answer during my
Super.
presentation. That's what I want to focus on because I know for many people, especially young, unexperienced graphic recorders, which we don't have on this call, I can tell already, they think that working with agencies is boring, restrictive, it's going to limit their creative potential. And I just want to disapprove it and say that it's actually great for your style to have certain limitation and work within those limitation because working with agencies is the same as working with any big clients, and working with big clients is often what young graphic recorders are dreaming about. And by big clients I mean folks like Salesforce, Deloitte, I mean you name it. We're in America, they're all huge, and all those companies, they have their visual guidelines, they have expectations. So that's what I want to focus today's conversation on, how to maintain that style. But before I start, you said that it's chilly in Chicago, but seeing who joined the call, I took my sweatshirt off because I feel it might be a little hot. Thanks so much for joining, guys. Yeah, my name is Katya. I'm here to talk about graphic recording agencies, how to work with them, and the most important, how to maintain your own style and still be a great fit for agencies and different agencies too. Can I share my presentation, Brian?
Please go for it.
I'm sending my request.
It should work. Oh, there it is. Okay. Try it now.
Mhm. Awesome. And I started right, not where I wanted to be. Awesome. This is my first slide, and I want to start with a little story. So when I came to the United States a few years ago, I had an experience of working with graphic recording agencies or scribing agencies. It's how it's called in Europe. I'm sure you know that. And I was in a process of interviews with the first American agency I was about to start working with. And interviews were going great. We liked each other. They liked my work. I did some test graphic recordings for them, and everything went nice and smoothly. And after all these steps, they sent me their visual requirements. And I saw that they want me to use 8 colors. So their standard palette for each gig was 8 colors. And the agencies I worked previously in Europe, they were very minimal with their color choices. 3 colors at the most. And by three, I mean white, black, and an additional color. So when I saw that requirement of 8 colors, I was like, That's not going to happen. I told my husband, I'm not going to work with them. 8 colors, way too many. That's not going to happen. And my husband said, hey, maybe there is a learning opportunity here, not an opportunity to freak out. And I like that approach. And since then, I'm trying to use it every time I face a creative challenge. And I embraced 8 colors. I started using it. I gave it a chance, and now that agency is one of my absolute favorite. We have great relationship. I'm absolutely enjoying working with them. So that's this 8 color story is a story how your personal style can evolve following visual guidelines of an agency or your client, and you can benefit from it, not risk your unique style. The slide you don't need. I started talking about that I hear sometimes that agency work feels restrictive or can be restrictive, and people who I mean, we all care about our creative style, and we want to be unique. And graphic recording is a weird area where if you like, we as professionals see different artists, if we see different boards, but an average client probably doesn't see that much difference. And a lot of times on site, I had situations when people would say, hey, I saw your work here. And I would say, awesome, but I've never been there. Which means my style looks similar to someone else's style, but it's definitely my style. And in graphic recording, it's especially hard to maintain your own style because a lot of stuff looks very similar. And that's obviously the limitations of the field, that we have to follow certain principles while working. The question I asked, the question is Brian asked me at the beginning. So the short answer is yes. And yeah, that's another misconception on top of the restriction. That something that I was struggling with when I just started, and I'm talking like 10 years back. Because when you see a lot of good stuff from agencies, it feels overwhelming and you can clearly see what you're missing. So I would say that's a mistake to try to jump and copy the style you see. And that's what I tried at the beginning. And I struggled because when you try to copy something without analyzing it, you might not do it exactly right when you just trying to repeat the lettering or the shapes or the colors. Idea is still the main thing in graphic recording. Your original idea, your metaphor, your thinking is more important than the way you draw. And I'll have some examples later. So yeah. Well, while you have to kind of shift to the agency style, being yourself is still very important. Yeah, and I believe that's the main thing. That's the main trick of working with agencies and big clients, that while you have to be consistent, it's very important to be yourself, because that way it's a kind of a sustainable way, at least for me, to do a lot of work for different clients and don't get burned out, because all the work I do is organic for me, because I use my own potential, my own strength, without pushing myself towards someone else's style. I had a little a little part of this presentation to talk about how graphic design agencies work. Having Tanya on the call makes me feel like Tanya can do it better than anyone else. But I'll speak from my experience as an artist. That agencies are very different, just like different clients. That's you know that's how I approach working with agencies. So there is, I mean, they're all different, and the life cycle of projects is different as well. Um, and also the way you work with the client, the same way you work with agency. The only difference is you don't win the client; someone else does it for you and brings you, like from a hunting trip, brings you something you didn't spend time hunting for. Uh, yeah, and I would say the life cycle is very similar to that. The agency gets the client, then they pick the artist, and in my experience, it's geography based a lot for a lot of times. Um, Maybe you guys have different experience. If you know how agencies pick artists, please send a message on the chat. I'll be super curious. My experience is the geography, and then maybe availability. Like if someone in Chicago is not available, they would fly someone from other places. I While I respect that idea because I understand clients don't want to pay for travels, it upsets me a lot because since I'm based in Chicago, I rarely get a chance to go to Florida in winter. And I will go to Minneapolis, go to Indianapolis, around Chicago a lot. But yeah, that's the main idea in my experience again. Then you do all the paperwork, and again, agency does it for you, so you don't have to worry about statement of work, about agreements, about NDAs. That's another good thing about working with agencies. No direct communication with the client, only on site. You might have a briefing call, you might not have a briefing call, depends on the agency. Again, in my experience, I think correctly filled and very detailed brief can be as beneficial as the call. I've been on the calls when client didn't know what to expect and didn't feel all the information right, and just as I said, sometimes a document would work better than a call where there is a lot of uncertainty. Then after all the steps, you do a gig, and again, you treat the client you work for as your own client. The only difference, you don't do a personal networking there. So all your networking is for the agency you represent. And in a way, I like it because it's kind of putting a different hat every once in a while. It's fun to talk on behalf of different companies that you know for sure have a lot of people working, and they can take care of the client if they decide to work with the agency. And then again, it depends on the company you work with. You might have to do the cleanup after work, or they can do it for you. So the cycle is pretty simple. You just got to do the work and I guess be good at communication. So that's
Katya,
the.
we've got some questions coming in on chat. Would you rather hold them to the end or answer them as they come?
Let me figure out where. Oh, I see the chat. Wow.
I can speak in for you if you like. Are
Yeah,
you are
sure.
you originally from, I guessed Estonia, is that right?
Uh, Originally, that's a good question. Originally, I'm from Russia.
Oh, okay. Swing and a miss.
But
I was close. I
yeah, but I used to live in Estonia for 6 years. So,
Gotcha.
I mean,
So
technically, I came from United States to United States from Estonia, but
no
originally from
problem.
Russia.
And then when this is from Jess, so when starting to work with agencies, what is the best approach? How do they hear about you? Do you get in touch with them? How does that work?
Mhm. That's a good question. I think the best approach when you start working with agencies is to believe you're good enough. I meet a lot of people, they would text me on Instagram seeing that I do a lot of work for agencies. They would be like, hey, um, how how can I start? These are my examples of my work. I know I need to practice this, and this before I start. So maybe I'll reach out to the agency in 6 months, maybe in a year. And I would say, reach out now. You're good enough. You have the idea how to do your work. And if you need to polish skills, certain skills, if your lettering is not good enough yet, you're gonna do that while you're working.
Yeah.
And that's what I used this idea because I know there are a lot of perfectionists in creative fields, and I know it can really get hard to find that line when you're good enough and you can tell yourself, I'm there, I'm great, and I'm ready. I think you always should be ready for a good challenge. I don't know if I answered the question.
That's lovely. Leslie Samajou's got one. She's got a question. If you want to know more about the gig than the agency thinks you
Mhm.
need to know, have you found a way to keep your requests and inputs still respected?
Um, Good question. A very good question. Um, I would say I trust the agency I work with. That's also, I guess, an approach I use. Um, I believe that they give me enough information to work with. I mean, if I'm missing the address of the venue, I guess I would ask for someone's phone number. When there is a call, it's always an opportunity to talk directly to the client. And if there is a briefing document, there is always an opportunity to ask questions, like the agency manager. They're always open and happy to answer all the questions. Uh, if sometimes I do my own research. I used to be a journalist back in the day in Russia. So I guess I have that instinct. I would make sure I understand exactly what the client does, where they're located ahead of time. I would Google people I was on the call with, or I'm going to be on site, just to know that we're on the same page as much as I can. But yeah, I would say I've never once, and of course I won't name the company I worked with. Once I got the wrong name of the client, a wrong name of the company before the gig, and I printed wrong stickers. And only on site, I I like by asking questions, I realized that not only because I got the wrong name of the company, I had the wrong color palette,
Mm,
wrong stickers. Mm, that was a tricky situation. But what can you do? I guess the lesson for the future is to double check, but mm, with the trust, um, it's hard.
yeah, that's a hard one. Also from Leslie, how do you find an agency and how do they find you?
Mm, how do I find? Feels like, at least to me, that graph recording is a relatively small industry uh, for now yet. And a lot of stuff is just visible. Like, people uh, that know people recommend stuff to each other. You see something on Instagram, and exactly the same the other way around. Agencies know artists who know me. They see my Instagram. It at least it how it feels for me.
Mm, that's fair. And then
Just be
last question.
visible. That would be my advice. If if you requested the advice.
So be visible, get your stuff out there on Instagram, be known. Last question we've got in chat is from Lisa. So she says, I would feel more pressure if working for an agency than directly with a client, since your work reflects on them and they are probably more discerning than most clients. I'd say that's true. How do you deal with this? Has an agency ever been unhappy? Is it just a matter of confidence?
Mhm. Good question. Maybe it's a matter of confidence. Maybe it's something I learned from my experience working with Scriberia. I'm going to show their examples later. It's a London-based graphic recording scribing company. They once told me when I started working with them, I was not only Lisa says Lisa loves Scriberia. That's great to know. When I started working with them, I was not only less experienced than now. My English wasn't that good. I mean, maybe still not good, but it was really not good back then. And I was super nervous before every event. And someone from Scriberia told me that despite the fact that I'm worrying, I'm not confident, I'm this, I'm that, I'm anxious, I'm still the only person in the room who knows how to do graphic recording in most of the situation. And that gave me a huge self-esteem boost. And I remind myself that when I'm in the room with high-profile client, a lot's on stake. They're talking $1 trillion. I remind myself that they can be professionals in their industries, but I'm here, the only graphic recorder, and I trust my instincts. I trust the way I work. Um, I, of course, sometimes the client has criticism, the agency has criticism, but I wouldn't say agencies were unhappy with my work, but just learn as I go and keep working with the agencies I started working years ago. So I assume they're happy with the result.
Nice.
Yeah, with that chat dried out for a minute.
I think you're caught up on questions. Yeah.
Awesome. Jess also saying, me too. I have a dream to work with them. That's to follow up one of the questions we had before. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's again my perspective, but it feels a lot of times things are easier than we think. Big companies are more accessible than we think. Just show them that you're interested in stuff you can do, and in a lot of ways, that's enough. Also, Lisa's asking, do you get digital work from agencies too? Mm-hmm. For sure, less than in person. Of, I mean, digital can be in person too, but less than markers because it feels like there is some kind of trend recently that people are getting more into analog stuff with AI everywhere, with like screens everywhere. Maybe it feels more exciting for people to see someone working with markers. I would say maybe 10% of the work I do is digital these days. Of course, everything was digital during the pandemic, but should we collect more questions while I'm talking and
Yeah. How about you do a couple
get
more slides, then we'll go back to the questions.
let's see what my next slide is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here I wanted since we kind of covered the life cycle of the project, I wanted to talk a little bit about style. Uh, it feels like there is like a kind of a 3-layer model where the first layer is foundation principles, and that's what I was talking about when I said that it's graphic reporting. There are things we all have to do to keep it graphic reporting, to keep it functional, and that's legibility, accessibility, clear hierarchy, and logical flow. So that's your staples of graphic reporting. People should be able to read it from afar. People should be able to follow your idea. People should be able to, if not understand where it starts and where it ends, but at least to have a feeling like what goes after what. So that's layer one. And things to think about when you develop your style, how you approach that. I definitely struggled at the beginning with hierarchy, and I mean, sometimes still struggle with it if I don't think through the project ahead of start. Hierarchy and logical flow, that what I struggled the most at the beginning. Just working checking other artists examples, analyzing, challenging myself, creating a grid, and trying to follow it. Like today I challenge myself to do kind of a circle graph recording. Tomorrow I'm trying to do kind of a snake shape. I don't know if that makes sense, but just practicing different layouts and trying to get better and more intentional. Layer two is that agency requirements. They can feel scary and restrictive and limiting or maddening, like from my story about A colors. So you might be required to use a certain color palette. There can be certain lettering standards. You have to use certain font for the title, for the smaller titles. I've never experienced that. Usually, like as long as people can read your handwriting, lettering is okay. Layout systems also can be required, and brand consistency. Different agency have different ways of where you should put their logo or the client's logo, or do you have to put a border around the word, or you need to bring a navigation path or background shapes, this kind of stuff. It's different for each agency. So it's not only something to keep in mind, but something to implement in your work to make sure it's consistent. And your layer, my layer, and your layer, it's where you shine as an individual. As I said, I still believe the idea is the most important thing about graphic recording. I do think people enjoy looking behind the light bulbs when there is a clever, or at least cleverish image. I cannot say all my images are smart, all my ideas are smart, but if there is something fun you can add to your illustration, if it can get more engaging, that's always great. Yeah, metaphors, your visual language, your little ideas of how to make this topic work. I think it's here's a layer 3, but it doesn't mean it's not the least important layer. I would say that it's a kind of a foundation, that on this foundation of your own ideas, your own visual language, sense of humor, by adding those restrictions from agencies and the clients, you can only make your style stronger. You kind of build from yourself and build outer layers on top of that. I think there is an example. Here is a Scriberia example. Here, it's just when you Google Scriberia and look at Google Images, that's what you see. And at the first look, it all feels the same. It feels like it's done by the same artist, and that artist is just incredible. And I will never be as good as this person. But then you click at every individual image, and you see that they're in fact super different. Everything's different. Line work, approach to color and shapes. Someone uses very simple shapes while building characters. Someone doing more realistic. Someone is going for like a dynamic, almost an animation style. Talking about this blue one, and that's an example of what I'm talking about. As long as your work stays consistent with the agency guidelines, you can do a lot in your own style on that board. Let me know if that makes sense. And I have a few of my examples. They're not that fabulous as from Scriberia. I just cut little snippets of different projects for different agencies. I would say maybe I definitely see it for myself that you can recognize me in all of those little examples, but at the same time, they're all done for different companies. And this is a good example. Let's say if I needed to go for more, I'm talking about the little roadmap thing on the bottom. If you need to go for more serious style, more, I don't know, that high stake business conversation style, I'm doing this roadmap. If I feel like the energy in the room is more loose and people are open for something more fun, I'm going with the roadmap on top of it, with like a happy brain on the wheels. And the same about this pipeline success. Something is more, again, like kind of neat and technical, and something more creative and fun if the client is open and if the room allows. And there is a board. I'm not sharing any boards I've done for any of the agencies I worked with, but that's my personal board. I did last December, so like a month ago. And I think it's a good example how all different agencies are just kind of melted in one board on this one. But it's for my own client. Just kind of learning little things from everyone and using it all. Let's see if I have more slides. We can pause here before success takeaways and answer some questions if we have any.
Yeah, there's a couple in chat. So Lisa asks, what role at the client usually hires the agency?
What role? I need, Lisa, can you please explain me this question? I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, what I meant was who hires the agency? Like I'm at Deloitte. Imagine I'm Deloitte and I'm looking for graphic recording. Why would I even want that? Who am I at Deloitte when I do that hiring?
I think Great question. Thanks so much for explaining, Lisa. I probably won't be the best person to answer. Probably you better ask the agency folks how that happens. In my experience, it always something like this. Someone so sometimes I almost said often, but I don't know how often that happens. Someone sees graphic recording, gets excited, brings it back to the company, and the idea finds the right person. That's I hear a lot. I think graphic recording is a great thing to sell itself. It's hard to explain graphic recording to a client who never seen graphic recording, but when people see graphic recording, they don't need an explanation from you. They're there, they're on board with it. So yeah, I have to know better. I'm gonna research, ask my questions, how that works.
That's a good one. Another one that's in chat. Let's see. Do we know, this is from Leslie, do we know anything about the situation right now for agencies, either in the US or abroad? I.e., I know a few who have struggled and ceased being an agency very recently. Does anyone else on this call know more about what might be causing this? So it's sort of like a state of the industry, maybe, Leslie? Is that what you're after? Yeah. Katya, what have you seen? And maybe we can open this one up. We've got some pretty smart
Yeah,
people on
that's
the
a good
call.
idea. I would love to learn folks' experience. I would say definitely the first half of the last year was unexpectedly dead. To me, it felt like just with everything that was happening in the States and in the world, that felt that's something to expect. Another thing that things were just happening so unexpectedly and quickly. But yeah, I would love to hear your experience, guys, with what's happening right now.
Yeah, I don't mind sharing it. My business had a 31% hit last year versus the year before in 2024, and a lot of that is just because I'm based in the DC area, and entire agencies were folded up, and not to mention the
Right,
companies that work for them. Anybody
right.
else want to weigh in on the sort of the state of the state? Okay,
Well,
Tanya.
Please.
nothing, yeah, like I think slightly of a dip, yes, last year, but we're still quite busy, which I'm grateful for. But yeah, I know I've talked to quite a few colleagues and there have been similar sorts of feelings, at least on the Canada side, that I've spoken to, in terms of some doing not so great, some are doing okay. Yeah, it just depends, I think.
So Leslie had a
Thank
question
you.
for you on the board that said Rumble on it. If you could go back to that one, about how many minutes is represented. In other words, how much conversation were you recording on
Is
that
this
one?
one we're talking about?
That one? Nimble, maybe not Rumble.
Nimble. Um, Let me think. I believe it was something like 20 minutes. Yeah, that's not the regular size board I used. This one is 40 by 35 inches, about a half of like the standard 60 by 40. It
Mhm.
was a short little talk.
And then from Tanya, do you offer different rates for agencies, given there is no hunting for the client, less admin for invoicing or contract negotiations? So yeah, using maybe this one, do you charge the same rate for your own clients or if you're working for an agency?
That's the part I think I skipped in my presentation, like pros and cons of working with the agency. The rates are lower. My rates are lower when I work with an agency. The thing is, someone is in the agency is doing 70% of the work for me, searching for a client, securing the client, doing all the meetings and everything. So that's something to expect. So if someone wants to make a lot of money, that's probably, I mean, not make a lot of money, but like charge a lot for your work. It's probably something to explore when you work directly with your clients. And usually, I don't usually give the rate to an agency. Usually, agency gives me their range for a certain like experience and location, geography, and I say it works for me on it or it doesn't work for me. So that's something to figure out what suits you in this situation.
That's fair, I think. Now they're just coming in. Okay, let's take a look at some of the other ones here. This is from Lisa, do you typically do more graphic recording of people's prepared talks, or are you also present to capture strategy or brainstorming sessions? So more presentations or facilitations?
I would say 50-50 if it was only two options, but there are so many formats. So just all of it. I love doing round tables and brainstorms because prepared talks can feel a little boring, especially when they have slides. It doesn't have that adrenaline of unexpected turn. So I really, really enjoy roundtables. But whatever is possible to capture through graphic recording, I feel like I've worked with. And yeah, it's super fun.
Nice. And from Jess, how is your pre-event preparation process? Do you make sketches or study drawing possibilities? Do you do like a visual vocabulary before you get started? How do you prepare?
Yeah, absolutely. The key for a good board is how well you prepare for the gig. I done some events when I wasn't as prepared as I would love to be. Sometimes it's a very last minute. I had situations when I packed for one gig, and while on a gig, I would get another gig, and I wouldn't even have the right colors to do it. And in situations like that, I wouldn't have enough time to think of the images, think of like terminology that might come up. And I don't like that because I feel like if and by thinking about images and terminology, I don't mean making any kind of detailed sketches. I like keeping things improvisational, but it's good to have a structure in my head. If I'm doing, I mean, it's going to be an AI example, but so much stuff is about AI right now. If I'm doing AI, I know what I don't want to do. I don't want to repeat like robots and this kind of stuff. So I would think about a few good images I can use and more than I will need. Let's say if I have 3 boards, I would want to have in mind 6 good visual metaphors in case there is a gap in a conversation or they decided to finish earlier. I can always throw an extra image that will work great on the board. So yeah, just for my own peace of mind, I love doing preparation work. Always gives me a good feeling.
To your point about AI, if I had a nickel for every robot I've drawn over the last 12 months, I'd have a private jet on 24-hour standby. All right, let's see. Lisa's got a couple of questions. Looks like she was referring back to how maybe your rates for agencies would be a little cheaper when she said agencies would be working for bigger and higher paying clients. So probably that balances out a little.
Fair question, but I don't really know what's going on with the agencies, how they work. What I know that they also have big teams, so they have more people to support. And I'm definitely not in the position to um, figure out the rates. I'm grateful they want to work with me. If I enjoy working with them and I'm okay with the rates they offer, I think it's a win-win.
Yeah. Lisa also asks, how would you think of images before you hear what they're saying? Or is it more general, for example, based on their industry?
I would definitely I would say my main trick I use, and again I've been using it for years and years. Learned another thing I learned from Scriberia, that if you can take a photograph of if your drawing can be a photograph, you should think harder. And I really like it, and I'm trying to do that. It's not always work. Um, I mean, we can look at this board and see if I succeeded. In some places, yeah. Like instead of drawing a burger, you can add wheels to that burger, and it's not a photograph anymore. It's something else. It's like a moving food, and it gives you an extra layer of meaning. Mm, I mean, you can, or like a school bus that has a hot dog um, on the back. It's
Yeah.
simply combining two existing things, but when you combine that, it creates something that has an extra meaning, and there is a higher chance people will remember it, smile, take a photo, and this board will live on longer as a
Yeah, Katya,
visual.
that's really insightful. I want to kind of dial in on what you're saying. So if it's something that you could take a photograph, it's not worth drawing.
Mhm.
In other words,
Yeah.
what you're trying to draw here is something that doesn't exist in nature or reality. And you're doing that, as you said, by combining a couple of different images. So, for example, a hamburger with wheels, or maybe another hamburger with, or excuse me, not a hamburger, but like a school bus with a hot dog hanging off the back of it. You're trying to represent something that's unique to that idea. That's really insightful. I know a lot of graphic recorders, myself included, who sometimes I want to try to draw as realistically as
Mhm.
possible. What you're saying is that now draw fantastically as possible, and that way it becomes that much more memorable. That's lovely. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure. It's just, again, stuff I learned while working for Scriberia. We even did an exercise that we tried to draw a dog within like seconds, like three
Mm.
seconds to draw a dog. And the funny insight of that you can spend the 10 minutes drawing a dog, you can spend 3 minutes drawing a dog, and you can spend 3 seconds drawing a dog. And all three are going to be dogs. And people who are looking at your board probably not going to get more if they look at the dog you spend 10 minutes drawing.
Yeah.
They will see a dog that only has, I actually had a gig in December when I draw a dog with one, like a back of the dog and little hair. You know, those little terriers that are really
Mhm.
short and their hair scratched the floor. And someone just couldn't believe how cute that dog looked. And it was literally, I think, 5 lines. So that's my approach. I try not to spend a lot of time drawing. That's why an attentive person can see that sometimes my character don't have enough fingers or or hair, or even like this girl adaptive action. She has her arm grows straight from her neck, but I don't believe it's this kind of detail level is important. But I'm trying to get into a metaphoric detail level. Again, not always successful. Like this was a 20-minute board. I have to balance a good amount of images, content within that time. But I always feel good when I at least manage to do something with what's given.
Yeah. That's really lovely, Katya. Thank you. You're getting some love in chat. No direct questions though. Although Tanya, it looks like actually I was going to say Lisa, it looks like Tanya gave you an answer from an agency perspective. Tanya, do you want to speak to that a little bit or?
Yeah, and
Please.
it'll be different based on the agency and the client that they have. And Lisa's question was agencies working with bigger and higher paying clients probably have more budget for the whole project, but a lot of that budget does get eaten up by our overhead, which depends on the agency. It can be like 30 to 40% overhead. That includes like everything, like marketing, website, insurance, lawyers, everything, staff you're paying. And then plus then negotiations with the clients. Some clients do have a ceiling on what they will pay for graphic recording. So you're up against that as well. It's a lot. So
Yeah. Just to kind of double down on that, I had a situation recently where I was graphic recording at the Washington, D.C. Convention Center, and I had to, just to show up, I had to pay $350 to get in the door, right? So there are fees that sometimes different venues will charge you so that they can move your stuff, which you'd rather you move yourself, from point A to point B. So there's some overhead that I think that you get with an agency that you would not otherwise have if you're just, showing up representing yourself. We're getting close to the end, but I don't want to cut it off too quick. If you've got any final questions you want to drop into chat or just go ahead and go off mute and ask Katya, please do. In the meantime, Katya, thank you so much for being open and transparent about this. I learned a ton about working with agencies, and I'm sure everybody else on the line did too. So thank you so much for your time and your generosity. I really appreciate it. To your point, let's
Thanks so much,
connect.
Brian. Yeah, please. I'll see you on my Instagram. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Thanks, Brian. I'm happy it was useful.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I
feel free
dropped
to follow up, ask questions. Mhm.
I dropped your contact information
Well,
into
thank
chat. Looks like
you.
Jeff got one more question in. Is there a rule of thumb of how much you can expect to reduce your rate when working with an agency?
I don't, Jeff, I don't really have situations when I have to negotiate. Usually I negotiated the rate once, and it can be um, renegotiated like next year or in a few years, but it doesn't usually change from project to project, in my experience. Maybe some agencies work differently. So if it's like a day rate, depends on how many days you have to work on this project.
Yeah.
But I don't really have to negotiate. And that's great.
And
I
then
like not thinking about it.
one more from Lisa. How important is Instagram, LinkedIn, or whatever else in getting clients or agency interest, would you say?
Great question. I just started doing my LinkedIn last year, and I think it's incredibly useful to be visible there. I think that when Instagram is a great kind of a portfolio type thing, when people can quickly look and see what you're doing. I don't have a lot of engagement on Instagram with potential clients. Uh, where LinkedIn, where you can share your thoughts or opinion on current events in graphic reporting or in the news. I think it can be a good platform to show you as a professional. So I'm trying to be visible there as well. It requires some extra work, but I feel like I'm okay doing that.
Good one.
Yeah, I like LinkedIn. I met so many cool people through LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
love that
Thanks,
too.
Katya. Okay, I think we're just about at time. So everybody, let's give Katya a big Nova Scribes. Thank you very much. And we will take it off the air. Thanks again, Katya. That was awesome.